Alright, so here we are back again, completely untangled. This is my application layout right here with the buttons, the text view, the whole deal. And let's look at the XML code and let's assess the situation here. We've got some warning codes. Now this is going to work even with the warning codes, but it's a good opportunity to explain something to you about strings. We talked about it a little bit in class, but let's go over it again. What is a string? Well, I'll tell you what. This is just kind of the stuff that gets generated when you make a new application in Eclipse. You've got this folder in here called values, and inside your values is an XML file called strings. A string is essentially a fancy word for a sentence in computer programming. Computers don't understand what a sentence is. If you say this to a computer, is a sentence, a computer is going to say error, exception, I don't know, it'll do something like that. Probably Darth Vader is going to jump out of a box and scream at you. Computers need to have encapsulating tags in order to understand what the stuff inside the tags actually is, unless they're looking at pure zeros and ones. So what we do in computer programming is we use something, this is one thing we do anyway, called a string. This is how it's done in XML. If you were going to do this in the Java programming language, which we're also going to look at as part of learning Android, you would set up the string like this. String, my new wonderful string, you have to name them, equals, hey there. Alright, I should have probably said hey there guys, right? And that's how you would set that up. Now if you were going to set up a string in HTML programming, you would have paragraphs. This is my sentence. Or you could use header tags. There's lots of different ways to do this. This is my header. Computers need to see these tags on either side of text in order to know exactly what kind of text it is. Amazingly enough, XML is a language that you can make up your own tags with. So I could actually do something like this, sentence. This is my sentence. And XML would be perfectly happy about that. Eclipse isn't going to be so happy about that, and Android isn't going to be so happy about that, but at any rate, if I were doing just pure XML programming, it would be perfectly fine, which you can do. Alright, so let's get rid of all this stuff here. Now, of course, if you walked into English class one day and you decided to write a sentence, this is what you would do, right? This is my sentence. But next time you walk into English class, why don't you do this? String. This is my sentence. Let's see what your teacher does. Alright, enough fun and games. So let's get rid of all this junk here. And let's go back over to our activity itself, our layout anyway, our graphical layout. So here's our graphical layout, and we've got all of these warning codes. Now let's hover over one of these warning codes and see what it says. Hard-coded string add one should use @string resource. What they mean by hard-coded is that it's actually written right into the XML file. Most computer programming languages don't really like you to do that kind of thing unless there's some reference to what the actual data type is. Text isn't really a data type per se. I mean, it's Android text, but it isn't a string, it isn't an integer, it isn't a double. You guys haven't really done a lot of this kind of thing, but you're just going to have to take my word for it right now. Text is not a data type. And so Eclipse is getting a little fussy on us here, and it's trying to make us code like, you know, good solid citizens. And so we might as well know how to do that. What you do is you go over here, and let's just assess the situation first before we go too much further. We have this thing here, string, right, which we just talked about, but you'll also notice that it has a name associated with it, app name. String name equals hello world. That's interesting. That's the thing that displays when you make a brand new application right there. And the way that that would work is you would just do this, and if you make a new application, you can see it happen at string/hello world, and we put the name in there, and life should be good. And we should get rid of that little error code there, right? Look at that. Isn't that cool? What it's doing is, instead of hard coding the actual text into there that you want to say, it's referring to, or it's saying it's at the string resource, which is stored in the strings.xml file. And the name of the string resource is hello_world. Now what displays on your screen is not going to be hello world. It's going to be hello world. And I put it in the button, not in the text view. So that doesn't really look like this, does it? That's because this is just the name of what actually displays, not the actual thing that displays itself. Here's the actual thing that's going to display. So this is just the encapsulating information that goes around your sentence in the programming language. This is the name. This is the data type. This is a very, very, very bread and butter setup with computer programming. Everything has data types, names, and then the actual thing that you want to say. Okay. So let's try it out now. Instead of saying string name equals hello world, let's say, what did we want to call this thing? Android text equals @string, your total is 0. Why don't we call this display total, like that, and then we can go back over here and we can change the name to display total. Now we could have left the name the same, but it just makes it easier to understand what it is that it's actually doing when you name it the thing that it actually is. So now let's put in here your total is 0. And actually, let's use the number 0 and an exclamation point just to make it even better. And then we go back over to this and we compile. And we're getting a warning code. Isn't that interesting? Here comes it at display total. What did I do? @string display total. Oh, joy.